A leap of faith would be insufficient. 5 leaps will prove your faith in this religion. The first drop can send you back to the anvil. The 5th will do something more substantial. A lot of people get a little scared here. I'm scared for you. There are those who didn't leap, and those who dared to. Alright, thanks for coming with me on this trip. I'll understand if you have to take a break at any point. Just find a safe place to stop and quit the game. And don't worry, I'll save your progress, always, even your mistakes. An orange is sweet, juicy fruit locked inside a bitter peel. That's not how I feel about a challenge. I only want the bitterness. It's coffee. It's grapefruit. It's licorice.
Ah, you got so close. But this is past mending. You got the bad ending.
Anyway, when you start sexy hiking, you're standing next to this dead tree that blocks the way to the entire rest of the game. It might take you an hour to get over that tree, and a lot of people never got past it. You prod and you poke at it, exploring the limits of your reach and your strength, trying to find a way up and over. And there's a sense of truth in that lack of compromise. Most obstacles in video game worlds are fake. You can be completely confident in your ability to get through them once you have the correct method or the correct equipment or just by spending enough time. In that sense, every pixelated obstacle in sexy hiking is real. Better by far that you should forget and smile than you should remember and be sad. Christina Rossetti. But on the off chance that you're playing this, what I'm saying is, trash is disposable, but maybe it doesn't have to be approachable. What's the feeling like? Are you stressed? I guess you don't hate it if you got this far. Feeling frustrated? It's underrated. Can I see another's woe and not be in sorrow too? Can I see another's grief and not seek for kind relief? William Blake. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Mary Fry. Don't hate the player, hate the game. Ice-T. Don't just flail wildly with your hammer. This is a game about knowing when to use force and when to use finesse. Plan carefully, execute freely. Easy does it in this section. Which is not to say it's easy, just take it easy. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. Khalil Gibran. Everything's fresh for about 6 seconds, until some newer thing beckons, and we hit refresh. And there's years of persevering, disappearing into the pile, out of style, out of sight. For years now, people have been predicting that games would soon be made out of prefabricated objects, bought in a store and assembled into a world. And for the most part, that hasn't happened, because the objects in the stores are trash. I don't mean they look bad or that they're badly made, although a lot of them are. I mean they're trash in the way that food becomes trash as soon as you put it in the sink. Things are made to be consumed and used in a certain context, and once the moment is gone, they transform into garbage. In the context of technology, those moments pass by in seconds. From this point, this minute, there's no more safety nets. Don't be hasty, yet don't be timid. Ha, the slight angle on the rock here makes it much harder than it otherwise would be. Hang in there. Don't let it get to you. But also, let it get you a little bit.
Have you thought about who you are in this? Are you the man in the pot, Diogenes? Are you his hand? Are you the top of his hammer? I think not. Where your hand moves, the hammer may not follow, nor the man, nor the man's hand. In this you're his will, his intent, the embodied resolve in his uphill ascent.
I can absolutely assure you that it's possible to proceed here.
I dedicate this game to you, the one who came this far. I give it to you with all my love.
I defeated the bucket on my first try. That convinced me it was easy. Then came the second, the 12th, the 50th try. That convinced me it was good. Now, I don't mean to go on, but I do want you to go on. Go on. I feel your pain. The pain in knowing this has happened to you. The pain in knowing what more tears we've gained. But through all this, I feel your pain. Octavia Hawkins Richardson. If I'm messing you up, you can mute me in the settings. If the bucket's too tricky, there's always the snake. If you need to say, but maybe that's a mistake, you can just take a break. If you fall here, don't panic. Don't twitch. The slow hammer can catch, but the manic hammer will only throw you. If you need to take a break, it's okay. I've saved your progress. If your hand's starting to get sore, find a safe spot and then just take a rest. If you try to please audiences, uncritically accepting their tastes, it can only mean that you have no respect for them. Andrei Tarkovsky. I feel within me a peace above all earthly dignities, a still and quiet conscience. William Shakespeare. I'm crushing your dreams and dashing your hopes. You're climbing a mountain with a hammer and no ropes. I'm gonna let you be for a little bit. In a certain way, Sexy Hiking is the perfect embodiment of a B game. It's built almost entirely out of found and recycled parts, and it's one of the most unusual and unfriendly games of its time. In it, your task is simply to drag yourself up a mountain with a hammer. And that act of climbing, in the digital world or in real life, has certain essential properties that give the game its flavour. No amount of forward progress is guaranteed. Some cliffs are too sheer or too slippery, and the player is constantly, unremittingly in danger of falling and losing everything. In the end, we only regret the chances we didn't take. Lewis Carroll. In this context, it's tempting to make friendly content that's gentle, that lets you churn through it but not earn it. Why make something demanding if it just gets piled up in the landfill, filed in with the bland things? In this game, there's two types of jump. The hop, where you push the hammer down really hard into the ground, and the fling, where you rotate the hammer to launch yourself up from a ledge. In this section, you're forced to go quick. It's a lesson with no protection, a course of 3 tricks. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep. Oh God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? Can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? Edgar Allan Poe. It feels like we're closer now, composer and climber, designer and user. You could have refused, but you didn't. There was something in you that was hidden, that chose to continue. It means a lot to me that you've come this far, endured this much. Every wisecrack, every insensitivity, every setback you've forgiven me is a kingly gift that you've given me. It's just you and the hammer, and the pot. It's really not as bad as it looks, though. Just go up one step at a time. I've seen a lot of people get stuck here. You can't get there just by reaching and dragging. You're going to need to try something a little bit more athletic. Laugh, and the world laughs with you. Weep, and you weep alone. For the sad old earth must borrow its mirth, but has trouble enough of its own. Ella Weaver Wilcox. Life is a mosaic of pleasure and pain. Grief is an interval between 2 moments of joy. Peace is the interlude between 2 wars. You have no rose without a thorn. The diligent picker will avoid the pricks and gather the flower. Satya Sai Baba. Listen, this is a little awkward, but you've clicked the mouse button 500 times now. I'm going to say you're gripping the mouse a little bit hard. Maybe this is what digital culture is. A monstrous mountain of trash, the ash heap of creativity's fountain. A landfill with everything we ever thought of in it. Grand, infinite, and unsorted. My favorite feeling in video games is when you know you're expected to proceed, but progress seems literally impossible. You're left only with your own frontiering spirit, the knowledge that if you persevere, you'll find your way. Now I know, most likely you're watching this on YouTube or Twitch, while some dude with 10 million views does it for you, like a baby bird being fed chewed up food. That's culture too. Now you're through, so hurry up the stairs and hammer a chair. Don't worry, the camera is with you.
Now, you've conquered the ice cliff, the platforms, the church, and the rectory, the living room and the factory, the playground, the construction site, the granite rocks, and the lakeside. You've learned to hike. There's no way left to go but up, and in a moment I'll shut up. But let me say, I'm glad you came.
Of all sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these. It might have been. John Greenleaf Whittier. Oftentimes making progress in this game is about chaining together multiple movements. Try to break them down into their component parts. Oft expectation fails, and most oft where most it promises, and oft it hits where hope is coldest and despair most sits. William Shakespeare, All's Well That Ends Well. Oh, it happened again. Keep on trying, don't let it get to you. Oof, sorry about that. Oh, you just lost a lot of progress. That's a deep frustration, a real punch in the gut. Our doubts are traitors and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt. William Shakespeare, Measure for Measure. Over time, we've poured more and more refuse into this vast digital landfill that we call the internet. It now vastly outnumbers and outweighs the things that are fresh and untainted and unused. When everything around us is cultural trash, trash becomes the new medium, the lingua franca of the digital age. And you can build culture out of trash. But only trash culture. B games, B movies, B music, B philosophy. Pain has an element of blank. It cannot recollect when it began, or if there were a day when it was not. It has no future but itself. Its infinite realms contain its past, enlightened to perceive new periods of pain. Emily Dickinson. Patience is the foundation of eternal peace. Make anger your enemy. Harm comes to those who know only victory and do not know defeat. Find fault with yourself and not with others. It's in falling short of your own goals that you'll surpass those who exceed theirs. Tokugawa Ieyasu. People sometimes ask me whether I can finish my own games. In this case, I got to the final obstacle several times, and I fell all the way back down to the beginning of the game. So I know it can be done, but I haven't done it. Maybe you'll be the first. She smiled in defeat, with unconquerable eyes. Atticus. Something filled up my heart with nothing. Someone told me not to cry. Now that I'm older, my heart's colder. I can see that it's a lie. The Arcade Fire. Sorrow is my own yard, where the new grass flames as it has flamed often before, but not with the cold fire that closes round me this year. William Carlos Williams. Sorry about the bats, by the way. That was uncalled for. Steady, 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 steady. The first time you got here, you thought you were safe. A base camp for reaching the summit. That's how it seemed on its face the first time, but your face can fall fast when you plummet. The living room is cluttering, with little room for hammering. I'm leaving room for stammering and stuttering and suffering. The mountain seems no more a soulless thing, but rather as a shape of ancient fear, in darkness and the winds of chaos born, amid the lordless heavens thundering, a presence crouched, enormous and austere, before whose feet the mighty waters mourn. George Sterling. The obstacles in sexy hiking are unyielding, and that makes the game uniquely frustrating. But I'm not sure Jazuo intended to make a frustrating game. The frustration is just essential to the act of climbing, and it's authentic to the process of building a game about climbing. A funny thing happened to me as I was building this mountain. I'd have an idea for a new obstacle, and I'd build it, test it, and it would usually turn out to be unreasonably hard. But I couldn't bring myself to make it easier. It already felt like my inability to get past the new obstacle was my fault as a player rather than as a builder. Imaginary mountains build themselves from our efforts to climb them, and it's our repeated attempts to reach the summit that turns those mountains into something real. The pain I feel now is the happiness I had before. That's the deal. C.S. Lewis. The pot and the hammer are heavy, which makes angled surfaces so hard to grip. There are no regrets in life, just lessons. Jennifer Aniston. There's 3D models of breakfast, Gen X's fanfic novels, scan magazines, green screen Shia LaBeouf, banned snuff scenes on LiveLeak. Facebook's got lifelike bots with unbranded adverts and candid shots of Kanye and Taylor Swift mashups, car crash epic failed GIFs, Russian dashcam vids, discussions of McRibs, discarded, forgotten, unrecycled, muddled, rotten, untitled. There's no feeling more intense than starting over. If you deleted your homework the day before it was due, as I have, or if you left your wallet at home and you have to go back after spending an hour in the commute. If you won some money at the casino and then put all your winnings on red but it came up black. If you got your best shirt dry cleaned before a wedding and then immediately dropped food on it. If you won an argument with a friend and then later discovered that they just returned to their original view. Starting over is harder than starting up. If you're not ready for that, like if you've already had a bad day, then what you're about to go through might be too much. Feel free to go away and come back. I'll be here. The soul would have no rainbow had the eyes no tears. John Vance Cheney. The vertical wall here has a way of getting harder the more times you try it. I think anger makes you swing the hammer harder, and that can push you away from the wall. I want you to think about the momentum of the pot. Sometimes when you want to go high, you have to lower yourself down first so you've got room to swing your hammer. This game is a homage to a free game that came out in 2002 titled Sexy Hiking. The author of that game was Jazuo, a mysterious Czech designer who was known at the time as the father of B games. And B games are rough assemblages of found objects. Designers slap them together very quickly and freely, and they're often too rough and unfriendly to gain much of a following. They're built more for the joy of building them than as polished products. This gets more frightening each time you return. Knuckles whitening, stomach tightening, once bitten, so many times burned. This is the hour of lead, remembered if outlived, as freezing persons recollect the snow, first chill, then stupor, then the letting go. Emily Dickinson. This is tougher than it looks. There's no point sugarcoating it. This part has the hardest leap in the game, the most awkward. Strike the anvil and forge your way forward. This thing that we call failure is not the falling down, but the staying down. Mary Pickford. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. Friedrich Nietzsche.
We have the same taste, you and I. It's not ambition, it's ambition's opposite. An obdurate mission to taste defeat. You'll feel bad if you win, so I put this snake in for you.
What's holding these rocks in the air, in buoyant tranquility? They laugh at your feeble inability to stay aloft, scoff at your civility to gravity. Whenever I climb, I'm followed by a dog called Ego. Friedrich Nietzsche. When games were new, they wanted a lot from you. Daunting you, taunting you, resetting and delaying you. Players played stoically. Now everyone's turned off by that. They want to burn through it quickly, a quick fix for the fickle, some tricks for the clicks of the feckless. But that's not you, you're an acrobat. You could swallow a baseball bat. When to the sessions of sweet silent thought I summon up remembrance of things past, I sigh the lack of many a thing I sought, and with old woes new, wail my dear time's waste. William Shakespeare, Sonnet 30. When you're building a video game world, you're building with ideas. And that can be like working with quickset cement. You mold your ideas into a certain shape that can be played with, and in the process of playing with them, they begin to harden and set until they're immutable, like rock. And at that point, you can't change the world. Not without breaking it into pieces and starting fresh with new ideas. Wow, you're doing really well. It's heartening to see. Remember restarting? Remember when you quickly fell? Yeah, this part is hard. Sorry. In my testing, a lot of people would just freak out and stop at this point. You can hit the escape key if you need to change the mouse sensitivity. You cannot now believe that you will ever feel better. But this is not true. You're sure to be happy again. And knowing this, Truly believing it will make you less miserable now. Abraham Lincoln. You fell from above, but I know you won't linger here. Your hammer's no longer, your jump is no stronger, but your hunger will tell. You know what to do. Vault over the barbecue. Go for it. You'll be back here again and again. Avenge and repent until you've ascended, or until you're contented. You may need to chain more than one move in sequence here. Leap, catch, push. Push, leap, catch. Move with speed and with frequency. You're back here again, showing patience, and then attacking, scraping, then flapping and snagging. Your failure here is a metaphor. To learn for what, please resume climbing. Rob Dubbin. You've done this part before. You know it's possible. Just do what you did the first time.